Hello and welcome to our 12th step and our final step of the miracle system that we've been working with all year. And it's really difficult to believe that we have gone through a year together with all these steps. It seems like we just started. I don't know about you, but for me, it just doesn't seem like it's possible that it could be a year already. And first of all, I really want to acknowledge and honor you. I mean, that takes dedication to be consistent and to really stay with something. And also, I'm very grateful that you did this for you, that you showed up for you, that you want to continue to grow and expand and be the best version of you. So I don't have my pom-poms with me, but I am definitely celebrating all of you and really, really so proud of you. So proud of you. So today, as I was saying, we are in our 12th and final step, which is recycling. And before we get into that, we're going to go ahead and get centered. And then I'm going to do a summary of what we've done this year so that you can just bask in all of it. And then we'll get into the experiential part of the recycling. So go ahead and close your eyes and start taking in some nice, deep, relaxing breaths. And as you take that breath in, just imagine God's loving light flowing down through the top of your head, flowing down into your heart center, clearing out anything that doesn't belong. And as you exhale, just feel that breath flowing out. And now as you bring in another breath, again, feel the beauty of God's divine loving breath. Feel the expansion of it, the renewal of it, the rejuvenation of it as it flows into your body, just literally pouring in, shimmering, bright, expansive light, courage, and just depth and breadth and serenity, everything wrapped into one as it flows into every cell of your body, every nook and cranny, just like a river of grace, just bringing forth God's wisdom into every single cell of your body as it allows also to push out anything that is unlike it and give yourself permission just to let go of whatever is no longer needed, is no longer supporting you, whether you know it or not. Just give full permission to whatever is in your body that is not aligned with your highest good, and just imagine it flowing out with that out breath. And as you take that next breath in, creating an opening, specifically seeing, consciously being aware of opening a part of your brain that will receive whatever is necessary for it to receive in this final class of this 12 Steps to a Miracle course that we've all been on together, this magic journey of how to create miracles. And just ask that a part of your brain, a part of your mind opens and hears something, even if it's slightly different, that gives you a new understanding, that gives you a fresh way to see things, that gives you new eyes, that gives you new ears, that opens your heart even just a little bit more so that you can step into that next best version of yourself and feel fully aligned with that beautiful essence that is you, that I call your diamond power, that is your connection to God, that is your strength, that is your uniqueness, that is your confidence, that is your courage, that is connected to the love, that is all that is. And just feel it expanding in your body and literally feel it raising your vibration as you allow this beautiful, bold energy of God to really fill you up and open you up. And maybe you feel a little tingling in your hands or a little buzz in your body. But imagine, just really be paying attention to that gorgeous energy that is always there for you. And make a commitment, a dedication that in this class, that something is going to present itself, that's going to be a new understanding for you, a new awareness for you, a new aspect of you. And as you take another breath in, connecting with something that you're grateful for and how that makes you feel, bringing that beautiful feeling down into your heart center, breathing it into your heart, feeling that warmth expand, the appreciation, and sending that out to somebody that could use some extra love right now, some extra wrapping up in your love. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a coworker. Maybe it's none of the above. Maybe you want to send your unique essence out across the planet. And I would invite all of you to do that after you've sent something to someone in particular. As you take a next breath, sending it out to the world, seeing sad faces become happy faces as they receive your beautiful, warm hug in the form of an energetic hug, that they feel it, they're wrapped in it, and it brings brightness to their face. It brings sparkle to their eyes. It brings a new awareness to their beingness. And just imagine your gorgeous energy flowing all around the planet, wrapping people in your love, what this planet needs more of. And when they receive that, just imagine them receiving it and the peace that's coming over them. And I also want you to imagine that as this peace is coming over them, that it opens them up, and that where there's been diversity, that there is now unification. Where there's been anger, that there's now understanding. Where there's been unforgiveness, that there is suddenly a light of compassion starting to take shape. And seeing people walking towards each other as they feel this new sense of self-assuredness anchoring into the truth of who they are, letting go of all the egoic things and recognizing that the most beautiful, beautiful thing about life is to give your unique love and energy and essence to somebody else. And that is the recycling, a beautiful way to use the recycling. And sending it to each other and really giving a nod to each other in this group for showing up, whether you were live or listening to replays, that you each had a dedication, and honor each other for that, because as each one of us grows, it doesn't just stop with us. We are not Tupperware containers. We expand outside of that. It is felt outside of that. And that is why it is so wonderful to be in this together, creating this fabric of growth, soaring up into each specific goal, but doing it together, even unaware. It still is powerful because it's a momentum. And having gratitude for each other, for all that each of you bring to this and have brought to this. And gratitude to yourself. Give yourself a huge hug of acknowledgement for showing up for yourself, for all the ways that you have grown over this last year, the ways that you have stepped into loving yourself more, valuing yourself more, anchoring into the knowing of God and creating a stronger faith and what that has done for you. And anything else that comes to mind that you really feel a great gratitude for yourself for shifting into. You've all had great transformation. So this is an opportunity to acknowledge it and to own it and to be grateful for it. And now just really having gratitude for God's greatest gift of his wisdom and his constantness, consistency of being with us, providing us with wisdom and discernment and the ability to transform and to know that we are not in this alone, that he is always with us, always has been, always will be. And we settle into a deeper space in our seats, knowing this to be true and feeling the groundedness and the anchoring of what it is to be loved so greatly, so unconditionally. And so it is. Amen. All right, ladies. And I would love to hear whatever gratitude you have to share, or intention, or both. Who would like to start us off? Lisa? Okay, great.
Well, I'm super grateful that I'm on vacation this week from work. And this is the first day of summer. Like you said, it's absolutely gorgeous out. Just really grateful for staying open to growth. And I can't believe that this year has gone by already either. So it's quite amazing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I had a mentor that always, she says that, 365 days are going to go by one way or the other. You're going to live, granted, if we are lucky enough to live another 365 days. And it's really about how are we going to live those days? So yeah, it is. I really, again, want to honor all of you because you've chosen growth. You've chosen continual growth for yourself. So you really want to be proud of yourselves. I'm so proud of all of you. So great. Thanks, Lisa. Melissa, did you want to go next? Oh,
yes.
Okay, there you are.
There we go. I'm also grateful that I'm almost on vacation. I start vacation Monday, so I'm grateful for that. And I'm also grateful for this program because it really has, I've grown a lot in a lot of ways, like we talked about, and I'm just so thankful and I'm so grateful to have this opportunity. And it's just been wonderful.
Oh, good. Beautiful.
Yes.
Well, you have grown a lot. You all have. So I'm really proud of you. And I'm so happy for you girls being on vacation. That's awesome. That's what summer's about, right?
Yeah.
It's vacation. Yeah. Beautiful. Lindley.
Well, I'm grateful for family and friends. And what I was grateful for was something that resonated for me when you were just speaking before, and I wrote it down, which is offer your unique presence and love to the world. And so I'm grateful to hear that. And my intention today is to be open-hearted.
Beautiful. Love it. Love that. And it's, it seems that it's a simple thing, when we say it, it seems that it should be something that happens, and that's what we are working towards. So beautiful. I love that that's the intention. All right, ladies. So before we get going with our experiential part of the 12th step, which is the recycling, I wanted to do a review of what we have covered up until now. And I want you to be thinking, as I'm speaking into each of these, which step was really either pivotal for you, or was your favorite, or you noticed the most growth, or it was just one that really you felt a level of transformation in, or some new information came to you through it as I go through it. Okay. So again, we're in our 12th and final step of 12 steps to a miracle. And the first step being emptiness. And this first step to creating a miracle is all about emptiness. It's about really creating room, creating space for goodness to come into your life. There's so much goodness that God always wants to bring into our lives. And we often are not positioned to receive it if we're full up with thoughts or ideas, or we have such a busy mind that we are not allowing ourselves to let God fill us up. So the abundance that you hope for might not enter in to your life until you free up some space. And so it's similar to the concept of a vacuum, in that, when nature abhors a vacuum. So as soon as something's emptied out, then something goes into it. And so as we empty out, as we did in this first step, then God gets the opportunity to start filling us up with abundant resources. And if you recall, whether it's through reading scriptures in the Bible, or they talked about it as well in the book, that Jesus would go to empty spaces before his miracles in many instances. And he would be doing two things. One, he would go to empty spaces so his external environment was spacious, but he would go into those spaces so that he could clear out his internal chitter chatter and allow himself to receive God's wisdom there. And it was seen in the miracle of the loaves and the fish, feeding the 5,000. He went into the desert and he prayed. And when he was out in the desert praying, he was really withdrawing from his ego to a place of inner stillness to be able to hear God. And he created that, as I was saying, he created the physical emptiness by going to the desert, and then the inner emptiness by clearing his mind. And prayer definitely helps with this step of allowing God to flow through you with his higher wisdom. Noticing when you have something in your life that you feel is lacking, when you notice that. And what happens typically when we feel lack is that we cling to what we're, the thoughts around what we're lacking. And then that actually blocks us from the flow. And so we want to release our grip so that we can receive God's guidance. And so that's what we did in the first step, was just an emptying out. It could be your physical space, clearing out clutter physically, and most definitely clearing out what was cluttering up your mind, different thoughts. And then we went into step 2, which was alignment. So in order to gain full access to God's guidance from step 1, you must get into alignment with the flow. And first of all, we have to understand what that flow is. And the flow from God is love. So that means letting go of anything that isn't love, which is resistant thoughts, self-condemnation thoughts, anxiety, worry, doubts, all of those things. And the idea is to shape our attitude and actions to be aligned with the flow of God's love. And this has to do with really being able to align with that love so that we can generate compassion, which is part of the love, being able to see the needs of other people so that it puts you into a place of compassion. We talked about that in the centering, how you could imagine where there might have been division, people angry with each other, that once they felt the love that you were sending them, you could imagine that they had a peace about them, and that they had an anchoring of faith within them and an assuredness, which would allow them to show up differently. So that's what this alignment is. It's asking you to really see if your actions, what it asked you to do is to see if your actions, your steps were aligned with the God flow. And if not, to see what was in the way and to adjust it. And again, the best way to do this through prayer, meditation, the rhythm of your breath, to move beyond your limited ego thoughts and to rise up to God's way of thinking. And then step 3 was about asking. So in order to receive your miracle, now that you've set yourself up to be empty, to get the God flow, to be aligned, to see what's blocking it. Then you want to ask. And it's imperative that you ask in order to receive. And you want to be clear about what you really want. So in this step, there are 3 criteria to meet. We discovered that it was to get at the root of what you want and why you want it. You want to, really important to feel the feeling of the why of what you want. For example, if you had an idea that you really want a house, well, it's not really probably the house that you want, but it's what the house would represent. So what would it represent? Security, safety, perhaps investment, whatever it is, you want to get in touch with what it represents and then connect to that feeling of it. So that's the first step, getting to the root. The second is trusting God to bring you the best. He doesn't need to know the how. He absolutely doesn't need to know the how. He's got it. He knows how to take care of everything. And then thirdly, to make sure that your desires are not just going to serve you, but that they're going to serve others too, and that there's good in it for others as well. Step 4 was about maximizing. So learning to work with what you have. And when you are grateful for what you have, then God will give you more. So in step 3, you're asking for something. So if you get something that seems inadequate, I know I've been in that situation where you might ask for something, it's not exactly what you were expecting or hoping for, and there might be an element of disappointment. But what God is really doing is he is bringing it, a little in the beginning and seeing what you do with it. And you might feel frustrated, but when we're in a space of really stepping into being a miracle worker, then we can see the gift as a beginning and see the full potential, right? That maybe it's not fully materialized yet, but you have an idea that this is the beginning and that it can get bigger. And so it's the test of your attitude and how you receive it. And if you use what you get well, then typically you're given more. And if you focus your attention on what you have in a way that you are really appreciating it, that you have gratitude for it, then you will rise up into God's world more easily. Remember, gratitude is one of the highest frequencies. And when we elevate into gratitude, then we get into the God field. Just like when we were centering and I asked you to think about something that you were grateful for, and immediately when you connect with something you're grateful for, you notice it is felt in the heart. And that's where we are connecting to God, and that's where he lives. And so that's where, when we get into that space, that we are elevated into his higher perspective, and that we are then able to see things differently. Also, we're in a different energetic frequency, and so things will start aligning with us more easily. Step 5 is giving. And this step tied to the first one of emptiness, okay? This giving is tied to the first step of emptiness. So giving creates the emptiness that stimulates the flow of resources. You may have heard this expressed, if you're somewhere and you're cold and you want a fire, and you don't, that you've got to put wood in to start the fire. You don't stand there with the wood in your hands and look at this empty space where you want the fire to be and say, "Fire, where are you?" No, you've got to give the firewood first, and then you receive the warmth of the fire. And so it's tied to the emptiness. The giving creates the emptiness. You're giving, so you're opening up space to then receive. And it brings a flow of resources. And so in the miracle of the loaves and the fishes, small, hungry little boy generously gave what little food he had to the disciples. And he did this in all sincerity. And it was given freely for the higher good. And so then that began to flow. and resources became more abundant. And so as the food was passed through the crowd in a chain of giving, it began to multiply. And so the gift might have started off small, but the sacrifice was large, and then the impact was even larger. And so the boy trusted in the Lord faithfully to provide. He trusted to provide. He trusted so much. He had such great faith that he was willing to give what little he had. And then it grew. And he was rewarded greatly, and as was the community, was in it for the higher good. So the types of giving that we want to recognize are giving with love, giving anonymously, so as you're not looking for credit, and giving freely without strings attached. And I just heard somebody talking about this the other day. They were saying, have you ever, I think it was actually in a sermon, they were saying, have you ever just gone out of your way for somebody and just, really poured into them and given. And then when you needed something in return, they weren't there for you, or they didn't give in return. And you got mad thinking, oh, I've given so much and, I'm getting, nothing in return. And it's a human feeling, but ultimately, if you think about it, was the giving really from a pure source? Or were you giving, hoping that you were stacking up some points so that you could receive something down the line? I mean, it's something to think about. I think we've all been in those situations, and it is something interesting to think about. Obviously, you do not want to be taken advantage of over and over again, but this is about giving from your heart and giving with love and giving anonymously, basically. And then the fourth type of giving is giving without expectation, which actually is tied into the third one as well, without strings attached. But giving without codependency is important. All right, and then step number 6, grounding. So by being grounded in faith, you will be able to better receive your miracle. And remember the woman in Matthew 9:20 who was hemorrhaging. And she had been bleeding for 12 years. She'd gone to doctors everywhere. She'd spent all of her resources. Nobody could help her. And can you imagine being, in those days, she was ostracized, being unclean. You're not allowed to really sit with other people. You're not allowed to visit. You're not allowed to be around other people. So she was really isolated and really just, can you imagine the frustration and the wanting to probably give up? And yet she had such strong faith that she believed if she could just touch the hem of Jesus' robe, that she would be healed. And she did. She touched the hem of it, and he felt the energy going out, and she felt the energy coming in, and she was grounded in her faith, and that opened her to receive that healing. So you want to be, you want to really, when you are being grounded, you want to be in the present moment. You want to see a positive outcome. You want to trust that it's going to happen. And you want to become childlike in your belief, really allowing yourself to really believe that it is possible, and to ground yourself physically as well. Then we moved into step number 7, which was visualizing. So in this step, you get to see the successful fulfillment of your request in your mind's eye, as if it was real in the here and now. And so this is called visualization, and form always follows thought. So you may have heard the term that everything is created twice. What that means is that it first had to be a thought. The chair you're sitting on, the desk you might be leaning on, the car you drive, the bed you sleep on, the clothes you're wearing, they were all thoughts first. And then as they were brought out and put out onto paper, materialized, that everything that was a thought first then takes shape, secondly. So form always follows thought. And again in Matthew 21:22, there's a scripture that says, "In all things whatsoever you shall ask in prayer, believing," that's an operative key word there, believing, "you shall receive." And this was seen in the miracles and the loaves. Jesus looked up to heaven, focused his attention on God. He was confident that God would provide. And so in this step, you revisit your request in step 3 of what you asked for, and then you see yourself having the feelings and experiences that form the basis of your request. For example, instead of seeing a particular home, you see yourself living comfortably. You see yourself feeling safe and secure. And it's best to focus on the feeling state when visualizing. And we just let God fill in the specifics. And we have done this by saying at the end of our visualization, this or something better still, leaving room for God to provide us with something that is far better than what we could have even dreamed up. And then we went into step 8, which was gratitude. So in the miracle of the loaves and the fish, scripture says he blessed the food. And in the Greek language, they were saying that bless could be appreciation, different forms of gratitude. And so Jesus took step 7, the visualization, he took that to the next level by praising what he wanted with words of gratitude. So miracle, when we are acting as miracle workers, we want to practice gratitude daily, and that consistent verbalizing of our thanks. Really, God loves that appreciation, and that thanks provides us with more in return, and it's beautiful cycling of that energy. So in this step, you want to bless all of your resources, no matter if you feel like you're lacking. Whatever you do have, you want to bless it. And you want to have deep appreciation and a lot of verbal gratitude for it. And you want to shift your mindset to one of wonderment. And when you do this consistently, you're going to find your desires and reality starting to merge together. Next, we went into step 9, which was acting as if. And so what you've done to this point was necessary with the asking and the visualization and the grounding and the gratitude. All these things were necessary to create the miracle, but it was not the only thing to create the miracle. So now to bring it into form, you have to act as if it already exists. And so in the miracle of the loaves, Jesus acted as if it was already happening by confidently breaking the loaves, distributing them. He had faith and believed that they would feed everyone. That's what he was seeing in his mind. Well, we don't know exactly, but we can assume that that's what he was seeing in his prayer, just imagining that God was providing for everyone. And so we want to take decisive actions no matter what our circumstances are, no matter what our conditions are. Remember, we all have conditions, we all have circumstances. We do not want them to have us. We want to rise above, because when we get into the God flow, we will have new ideas. New things will flow to us that we could never imagine. But if we stay stuck in the circumstance, we just get more of the same. Remember, Einstein said you can never solve a problem at the level of consciousness it was created. You have to rise above it. And what he means by that is you've got to get into that God field, because that's where discernment is, that's where wisdom is, that's where other resources are. It's already there. The idea of electricity was already there. It just had to be, reached, basically. The idea of being able to fly was already there, but the Wright brothers had to just reach that level. So whatever you desire, just know it's already there. And if you act as if you already have it, it will start to close the gap, and you will be able to have whatever it is that you desire. And that's imperative. The other thing that's really important in the step of acting as if is courage. Courage is absolutely necessary. And every time you have courage and you take a step and you act as if, it builds your confidence so that you continue to build. So that's very important. And you want to, be patient and persistent, knowing that it's always in God's timing. But you can do your part by putting all these steps into action. Step number 10, engaging the cycle. This is recognizing that the world works in cycles, and so do miracles. You want to keep the energy moving. So when you receive, you want to find a way to give back. And this could look like giving a compliment after receiving a compliment, or if you're in a conversation with someone, to turn the conversation back over to somebody else, so that you keep the energy moving. And I don't know if any of you have ever been in a conversation where it's been very one-sided and one person's just talking and talking and talking, and you begin to feel this this dead energy in a sense, because it's not moving around, between everybody. And so you want to move the energy, and the ways that the book talked about this was to be a team player, was to be reliable and consistent, and know that there is an ebb and flow to life. So if you're in a place where it feels like things are not flowing as much, then you want to use that down. You want to just know that, it's like the waves. When they go out, they do come back in again. So you want to use that downtime to really prepare yourself for when it comes back in. Step 11 was receiving, and this is about what we can collect from God is limited only by our ability to receive. Only by our ability to receive. So we want to have big pockets for big thinking, and to prepare our mind to think bigger by believing in the abundant possibilities instead of having fearful thinking, because fearful thinking will cut off our what we receive. So we want to expand our thinking and recognize that stay open also to opportunities. So it's not about just what's right in front of us that we can see, but oftentimes there are opportunities in front of us that we're not seeing. And so we want to pay attention, and we want to recognize what we see as a gift, but we also want to pay attention to what might be right in front of us that we're not even seeing. So we want to listen more, we want to open our eyes more, and we want to look for what might seem like coincidences and God winks that cross your path. And when we receive, we want to receive with gratitude, with graciousness, knowing that we are worthy. And then we want to also be generous givers. And that brings us to our 12th step, the recycling. And this is about the follow through. And in the book, they gave the example of the golf pro, saying that what happens after the club strikes the ball is just as important as what happens before the club strikes the ball. So up until now, you have worked really, really hard to create your miracle. You've worked meticulously. You've dove deep with these topics, and you've really gained some awareness, some transformation, some shifting in order to create your miracle. And so you want to understand that it doesn't stop here. You want to gain momentum by continuing, following through, recycling, using everything to the max. Some of the things that they suggested is buying recycled items, donating blood, use parts of your body to recycle, share your knowledge. When you learn things, to share your knowledge, to put it out there. And so does anyone have any questions about these 12 steps? No? Okay. What I want you to do now is I want you to write down, if you haven't already, what your favorite step was, or what you learned from this, what you got out of it, one of the steps that you really loved. And let me know when you are complete with that. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you two ladies in a breakout room to share with each other what you got out of this. What was your favorite thing? And then when you come back, you can share it with me.
Emptying and recycling were big for me. But the gratitude.
I'm sorry, gratitude and what in recycling?
emptying.
Oh,
The
emptying.
Yes. Because I think it's so true of what you hold on to, the negative that you hold on to, you have to make space for the good. And I was telling her how I physically moved my office from my bedroom downstairs. I physically emptied my space. I emotionally emptied space, but also gratitude, because I had had a negative encounter with my children's father, and those do come often. So I was able to use the gratitude. After that, I left and I thought, and I just started being grateful and thankful for everything that I had in my life. And it made me feel happy. It
Oh,
actually, being grateful for what I have, made me feel light. It made me feel happy. And I couldn't believe it. I was driving in my car, just like smiling after this encounter. And that had never happened to me before.
that's great.
So it was good. So yeah. And then the recycling, I've always been one to say, use what you have, and, give what you have. And so I think that's very important, just to use what we have, continue recycling, and just and also to teach what we've learned to people, because
Mhm.
I think that's a big part of my purpose in life, is to, like we talked about yesterday,
Yes.
learning from what the things I've been through, and to helping others. So I have multiple favorites.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, I love hearing that. I love hearing about
Mm,
this and what it's done. That's really beautiful, and it is so true. I think oftentimes we go through things, especially if they're not pleasant things, and we don't always want to talk about it with other people, and we don't realize how sharing those parts of ourselves, of what we've gone through, how it can then elevate somebody else and help
mhm,
them move through it. So
mm,
yeah, it really, it's really, that is part of the recycling, I believe,
yeah.
that God wants us to do. So great. I loved hearing it. How about you, Lindley?
Well, I just want to talk about the recycling bit first. I did talk about something different with Melissa, but I'll come back to that. The recycling and sharing. I had a situation where I went into a shop and I could see the person behind the shop. She wasn't very happy, and she kind of started to talk a little bit about what was going on for her. And I gave her my cell phone number. And I said, ring me if you want to. And then she did. And we talked for like 2 hours. And it was just about, I didn't want anything. I just gave because, and I could see it. And she said she'd been asking for some support. And it was just funny how that aligned up. And, she's just beautiful. She got a beautiful heart. So, yeah, that was a lovely recycling moment, I think.
That
Um,
I love that. That is beautiful and very generous gift. So uh, that's these are the types of things, and most of us don't take the time. So I'm not talking about any of you here in this class. I'm just saying in the world that most people don't take the time. So that's beautiful.
And then in terms of what I talked with Melissa is in I'm not thinking about a particular step. I'm thinking about a situation that arose where I implemented the steps. So I looked at a situation with love and with forgiveness and to the person, and I felt good. It just felt really good. So, that would have been in alignment, getting into the flow. It was giving. It was, grateful. And then I was grateful for how I showed up, because normally I would probably have not shown up in that way.
That's amazing. I love it. Yeah, that's really great. Beautiful. Well, now that you have the steps, these are, I'm going to encourage you and invite you to revisit them, to remind yourself how you can continue to use them, and through, and also documenting these things that you both shared, amazing shifts, really amazing things that you normally would have reacted one way and you chose to show up a different way. Both of you, really amazing. And if you haven't already documented it, I would invite you to document it, because the mind, mine anyways, tends to have amnesia. And so when we get into a funk, we can forget how we got ourselves out of it before. And so if we write down ways in which we have moved through something, we'll be able to help ourselves. It's very supportive to look at, oh, wow, look, I did this before. Okay, well, if I did it before, I can do it again, or let me try that, or let me see. But even it just needs to open up a little small corner of your mind to say it's possible to shift out of this, because, you know, that part of you that doesn't want you to always be in the light can be very deceiving, deceptive, and alluring, right? So it's great to have your book of, you know, beautiful memories of what you've already moved through. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Really, really happy. And so, yeah, just keep putting these steps into practice. All right, so any questions on any of the steps before we do the experiential part of this? And I know we are getting towards the top of the hour. We'll probably go 10 to 15 minutes past the hour. And if you need to leave for any reason, that's fine. It is being recorded, so it will go out to you. But what I'm going to be doing is taking you through a meditation, because I think breath, as we realized in our opening, is an excellent way of recycling, and to recycle an energy and an emotion as well. And so before we do that, do either of you have any questions about anything? Oh, no. Okay, great. All right. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, get comfortable. And we're going to work with thinking about, first of all, we're going to work with really bringing to mind an emotion or a situation or a circumstance that perhaps you encounter that has more than once had you in an emotion that wasn't one of love or kindness or compassion, and that you have an awareness that you would love to shift that emotion. And so if you can bring that to mind, and if you can't think of anything that is repetitive like that in your life, you can choose an emotion that you don't like to feel and just know what that emotion is. Perhaps it's frustration, perhaps it's an anxiety, perhaps it's a sadness, whatever it is. Just decide what you want to focus on for this breath work. And we're going to work to recycle that into a peace and calm. Okay, so, and to learn how to recycle emotion in a way that you are recycling it into something that is good. Okay, and so go ahead, close your eyes and start taking in some nice deep breaths. And you want to feel that you are comfortable. The body loves to be comfortable, with your spine neutral and your chest open. And as you feel your shoulders shift and drop, let your shoulder blades support a slight expansion of your chest. And with your chin neutral and the back of your neck long, your eyes are closed. Start to breathe slowly and evenly in and out through your nose, drawing your attention to your breath. Letting your breath reflect all the qualities you'd like to see in your mind, the gentleness, the spaciousness, the peace, the patience, the quiet, easy, free, And as you get more comfortable, settling in and watching your breath, perhaps the exhale breath begins to lengthen a little more. But no need to intentionally change the breath. Just be present with a comfortable breath. And notice the breath with a deep curiosity, as if you're noticing the most magical thing that you will see all day. And you might want to count the breath or say the words: inhale, exhale. But eventually noticing the breath, not with the thinking mind, but with the body itself. Feeling the breath, the sensation of movement of air in and out through the nose, the sensation of the rise and fall of the chest, noticing the breath with the body itself. Noticing how even the most quiet moments of breath, there is movement. No matter how subtle, there is always movement in and out through the nose. Always movement in the chest or the shoulders or the belly. The breath in a continual process of exchange. The body gently rising and falling with each breath. And as you notice the breath and its movement, notice too how there's always movement in the mind. As you sit here with attention to the breath, the mind is still active, perhaps drawing you away. When you notice this, just calmly take note of it as movement. And shift your attention back to the movement of the breath. The goal of this exercise is not to stop the movement, but to notice it. The goal is not to stop the movement, but to stop chasing the movement. And once the intention of watching the breath has been set, we stay with the intention of watching the breath, returning to awareness of breath as many times as we need to, with curiosity, with awe, with gratitude, spaciously focused on breath, accepting of movement, accepting of the movement of the mind, but no longer attached to the movement of the mind. Present instead with the movement of breath. Present with the felt sense of breath in the body. Noticing the gently upward lift that accompanies each inhale and the release of the shoulders and the softening that accompanies each breath out. Stay with the breath. Stay with the body. No longer fighting against activity in the mind. Recognizing movement of the mind as movement of energy, as natural as the movement of the breath. And right now, no more important than our awareness of breath. We can leave it. We can let the mind move and play, attaching to none of it, pushing nothing away, letting it all float on by. Just as with breath, we don't hold on to the inhale and we don't force the exhale. We allow for the process. Breath comes in, breath goes out. It recycles. Breath comes in and breath goes out. It's movement, process, continuous. And we can rest here, just watching, noticing if there is anything left of an emotion that we prefer not to be having. And if there is, making the conscious choice to choose a different emotion. As you breathe that emotion you prefer not to be having, if there even is anything, just imagine it turning into peace, turning into calm, turning into serenity with every breath in and every breath out. Recycling, resting in the peace, in the calm, watching with curiosity and awe, letting it all be. And taking another breath in. This time, starting to bring your awareness and your consciousness back into this present moment. Noticing how you can bring the breath into a conscious state of awareness, bringing your mind more into the present moment, gently sitting up a little taller, bringing that breath into this moment, coming up into your awareness of being in this space right here, right now. Noticing the state of your body, the state of your emotions. Noticing the dominant feeling flowing through your body. And giving thanks for this breath that is flowing consistently without us even having to think about it, that it is there. We do not even have to think about it. We simply breathe in and it's there. And coming into the present moment with that feeling of gratitude and wonder and awe. Noticing the recycling of every breath is bringing you to a place of peace and more peace and more peace. And gently, when you're ready, coming back into this present moment by gently opening your eyes when you're ready. Maybe giving a little stretch with your arms, with your hands, maybe your feet. And anchoring into the centeredness of peace. All right. Lovely, ladies. So what's one word that would describe, you can give me more than one if you want, but what's at least one word that would describe that experience of how you feel or how you felt while you were doing it? Lindley?
Love.
Love. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Will you do this breathing exercise again?
Sure will.
Who we want to be recycling love, that's for sure. That's great. I love it. I love it. How about you, Melissa?
I say peace, just absolute peace.
Beautiful. Well, you can't get better than that. Peace and love.
Mm-mm. Mhm.
Yay, I love that. I love it. So is that something that you feel will help you? I mean, we spent maybe 10 minutes, 12 minutes working with it, but you could spend less time probably, or you could just take it. You can download this and have it on your phone, take it with you and listen to it if you're ever in a space that you know you would benefit from dropping down into it. And as you do this exercise, ladies, you will be sharing your beautiful love around the world. Again, we are not a Tupperware container. It's we are expressing. So good job. Really good job. Really good job. And I do have one other question. Is there an exercise or one of the experiential trainings that we did that sticks out for you as something that you enjoyed more than the rest? If it pops into your mind, let me just send me something to let me know. I'm always curious as to what lands, and I know it's different for everybody, and it also depends on where you're at the time of the call and what's helpful. So, but did you enjoy a certain type? I guess they're a little bit different. Something like today is meditative, then there's prayer, and then there's more of engaging the mind with questions and thinking. So I understand that, again, different times in our life, different things are going to be more meaningful for us. But if you want to just let me know what you felt, if when you think about it, what works the best for you as far as an experience that works in helping you feel transformed within your energetic state into one that you feel really good, then let me, just let me know if you connect with something. All right. All right, ladies, it has been an absolute honor and a pleasure to guide you through this work. I'm so really, really deeply proud of you and deeply grateful to have had this opportunity to be with you. And I want to, again, just thank you for showing up, for putting the energy and the work into it. And I'm so happy for you and all of the ways that you've transformed. It's really so beautiful to see. So any last words that you have? If not, we'll say goodbye.
I would like to say thank you so much to you, Sherry. You have been a blessing beyond words, and your energy, your positivity, your belief in myself, and I'm sure the other ladies here too, has been phenomenal. And you've held things for us, well, for me, when I wasn't able to see it. And the gratitude, I don't have enough words inside me to express it. My heart's just beaming to you right now.
Oh, thank you so much, Lindley. Thank you. I'm really touched by that. Thank you. It's been
Yes.
an honor.
Yes, I want to say thank you as well.
Oh, you're
It's
welcome.
just been life altering, and
Oh.
just for the better in all ways. Just wonderful. You are a blessing. You've been a godsend from the day that you came into my life.
Well,
Okay.
I so appreciate it. It's you're gonna make me cry, but I really um I just feel so blessed to, I thank you for trusting me, for saying yes, and for trusting me, and for stepping in. I know this is sacred work, and I don't take it for granted for 1 minute. So I feel very blessed. I thank you for giving your time and energy to this program. Love you, love you, love you.
Oh, love you. Thank you, Sherry.
You too.
You're welcome.
Thank you.